Hi guys, welcome to Gaming Watcher. My name is Rosen and in this video I'll tell you what to do in Destiny 2 once you reach the endgame.
Time to take back the light, take on the fight, harness the energy with all your might, shine for humanity and make sure it's bright, protect community and never lose sight, claim your name and your home in history, believe in the ability to achieve a victory, let's go!
I've made an introduction guide for complete blueberries, kindergartens, muggles or whatever you want to call them, and several people have requested that I do part 2 on what to do after finishing all the story campaigns of Destiny 2. So in this guide I'll take you through what I think you should focus on when reaching the end game, and there's no more linear story content for you to go through. But at the end of this video I'll put in some extra honorable mentions for awesome things that I think no one should miss out on, so stick around guys, I'll make it worth your time. Get some awesome ass weapons. By now you're probably starting to get a grip on the whole weapon system in Destiny. After all, it's pretty easy to be honest. There's so few weapons to get to know. And you've probably realized that some weapons can mean the difference between being ogre food and being the freaking Doomslayer. I'm playing Doom Eternal at the moment, so this was the reference that came to mind. In its essence, Destiny's endgame is about collecting gear, collecting different weapons and armor sets, catalyst emblems, ships and so on. Now, I didn't really get why you would collect weapons that you will not use in 90% of the activities of Destiny 2 before I actually started to collect some of these weapons. Because that is truly how it is. Most weapons you will not use for 90% of what you're doing in Destiny, but then there is this one thing, or this one activity where one specific weapon just fits perfectly and it makes your life 1,000 times easier. Once I first started experiencing this, it really began to make sense to me why people would grind for all the many weapons that you can get in Destiny 2. To give you an example of what I mean, take the Hammerhead machine gun for example. This is a really awesome machine gun and one that I might consider trying to get with the perfect set of perks. The God Roll! To do this, I would have to forge a lot of these frames in the Black Armory forges. For one of the quest steps for each frame I will have to kill powerful enemies. The easiest way to do that, as I have covered in another guide, is to go to the beginning of the Leviathan raid and kill the 6 powerful Cabal enemies on the bridge. This can be done with many weapons, but if you have the Sleeper Simulant, you can kill all 6 enemies with just 2 shots. This is the only place that I actually use the Sleeper Simulant, but when I have to get those powerful kills, it just makes me clap my little lazy hands that I have this weapon. Besides that, there is also just the question of being able to create a good loadout no matter what you're doing. It's awesome to have a really good weapon of every kind. I use the Recluse a lot, but when I for some reason want to equip something else as my energy weapon, I use the Exit Strategy SMG instead. So having a lot of great weapons really makes the game a lot more enjoyable, because no matter what you want to do, You can always make a loadout of shredding weapons to rip and tear
Demon lives from their mangled bodies.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got into Doom mode again. From the old season, you have what is called pinnacle weapons, and from the new season you have ritual weapons. Then there are all the exotic weapons, and then you have some specific legendary weapons that with the right set of perks become absolute beasts. But how do you choose which weapons to go for? I have made a guide called 5 First Must-Have Weapons. You could take a look at that, or think about what you want to do with the weapons. Do you want to do raids? Do you want to do PvP? It might just be that you don't really have an awesome auto rifle or shotgun. What would you like a good weapon for? Then when you know this, Google best weapon for raids in Destiny 2, or best weapons for PvP in Destiny 2, or best auto rifles in Destiny 2. And when you find a weapon that you want to get, look it up on light.gg to see how you obtain it. Now go grind, my young Padawan. Infuse your favorite gear. Another thing that you should begin to look at when you have reached the endgame is beginning to infuse all of your favorite gear up to your current power level. Because no one can be satisfied with just leveling up their character, Bungie has saved us from boredom and meaninglessness by making us level up our weapons as well. Thank you, Bongo! This is done by selecting the gear that you want to use and pressing details, then go to the upward pointing arrow icon thingy, and now you can select a weapon with a higher power level that you want to infuse into this weapon. Infusing just means that the weapon gets the power level from the weapon that you infused into it. So this is why if you pick up a blue weapon on a high power level, save them so you can infuse them into your favorite gear. Infusing costs upgrade modules that you can buy from Banshee 44 in the tower. I usually wait until I actually need a piece of gear until I infuse it, because otherwise I would rather spare the resources. So I have a lot of 750 weapons in my vault. Were I ever to need some of them, I would infuse them to my current power level at that time. Also, this is best to do when you have reached the current top level. If you do it while leveling up, you might end up infusing the same weapon many times, wasting resources instead of just waiting and infusing it one time at the top level. Remember that in activities like the Crucible, the power level of your gear does not really matter. Infuse weapons for situations where it matters. That's deep, I know. Get an awesome armor set. Another thing that really made me more engaged in the Destiny endgame was to get a really awesome armor set. There's just something special about having your character look really awesome. No one wants to turn up to a raid without a raid set on, right? Like, who does that? It's like not wearing pants or something. My first armor set I got from the last Wish raid, and I absolutely loved it. And it really got me hooked on getting more armor sets. So when the Iron Banner came, I got the Iron Banner armor set. Then I have been going from there. Getting an armor set is usually a question of doing the same activity many times, like a raid, Iron Banner, the Black Armory Forges, the Escalation Protocol, and so forth. One thing is to get a nice looking armor set, but there's also an aspect of utility. The best armor sets in the game in terms of stats are obtained through the raids. I highly recommend getting into raids, by the way. Doing raids is the most fun I have had playing Destiny by far. Getting the cool armor set is just a bonus, really. Do some awesome exotic missions. Some of the more fun times I've had in the endgame of Destiny has also been doing exotic missions. Some exotic weapons can only be obtained through doing a mission. Some of these missions are a grueling grind that makes you wish you were dead or being punched in the nuts for eternity instead, but some of them are just awesome. For example, the mission for the hand cannon Thorn. The last step of this mission is a ridiculously hard strike that you have to be 3 good players to get through. The difficulty in this strike is ramped up to a level where you're getting one-shotted by the enemies, and it just makes it all the more exciting. You will die 1,000 times when you do this, but when you finally get it right, it just feels awesome. Then there are the quests like the Whisper and 0 Hour that you have to do to get Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak perfected. These missions are also really awesome and fun to do, plus there are a heroic version of both that you have to do to get the catalysts after acquiring the weapon in the first place. So there's just a lot of replay value in these missions. Watch all of my other guides. This does not really need an explanation. I have made several guides on activities and weapons that you can do in the endgame. The most recent one was my menagerie guide. If you haven't already, I would seriously consider going into the menagerie and working on getting the Chalice of Opulence fully upgraded. This is a really fun activity and also one where you can get a lot of awesome loot. Also, my videos are just plain awesome and you will enjoy watching them. Get into raids. I've mentioned this before, I cannot recommend this enough. Getting together 6 people and solving the puzzles and completing the encounters that Bungie has made in the raids is just so much fun. Everything about the raids is awesome. You are a part of a team that needs to work together. The puzzles and encounters are challenging and the loot that you get for completing them is awesome. The best way to get into raids is to join a clan, so you can connect with a lot of other people who are also doing raids. In any clan there are usually some people running raids for first timers, teaching them how to get through the encounters, as of course Bungie is not telling you anything or have made any tutorials. There's a whole clan recruitment forum on bungie.net. I'll leave a link in the description to this video. Being in a clan also gives you some nice perks like free engrams every week, and also only noobs are not in a clan, so there's that. Honorable mentions. Before I end this video, I thought that I would just mention some activities that are worth doing, but not go into any details about them. Just like Bungie. Number 1 is dungeons. There are 2 dungeons. The first one called the Shattered Throne and the second one called the Pit of Heresy. These are really fun to do with friends and I really recommend doing them. The Escalation Protocol, the Altar of Sorrows and the Blind Well are all very fun activities that you can just jump into casually if you're solo or you're a team of friends playing. Very fun activity. Starting a new character. This might sound like starting over, but actually the playstyles of the different classes are so different that it does not feel like that. It feels like a new experience. Okay, so that was it from me for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.